Hey YouTubers, welcome back to Desert Have a Garden. It is Thursday night and we just pulled into the High Desert Homestead. So we have exciting news. Tomorrow morning, the concrete truck is coming to fill up the basement block walls. So we are here to get a good night's rest and we will start work in the morning. It is Friday morning, and while we're waiting on the concrete truck to arrive, we're doing a couple last minute things to get ready for them. And one of those things is that we'll need to trim down these blocks to a straight angle across in order for the door, which is the secondary exit of the basement, for the blocks. So you can't obviously put a flat door on the bumps, so these are all going to get cut at the angle so a door can lay flat across there. So Rick's measuring that, and then he is going to cut the blocks at that angle. You have to get rid of that rebar first?
Yep, I'm gonna bend it.
The pumper is here. Now waiting on the concrete. All right, the concrete truck is done. They're backing out of here and they will be back to pour the footers for the cabin another day. Now we've got some finishing work to finish up. After filling up the concrete, the next thing is the L bolts have to be put in to the concrete. And there was a bit of a mishap with that because we didn't even have the right bolts. We had bolts and so we thought we were good, but we had the bolts that were for the pump house building, and so I actually had to run into town and pick these up, so that was an hour and a half turnaround trip, but we've got them and they're going into the slightly still wet concrete. One of the next things that needs to be done is some little love for the backhoe. So this backhoe has had quite the workout over the last few years digging that basement hole in the solid rock, and it has been just working like a workhorse. So the last time we were up here last weekend, Rick found that it was losing some power while he was sifting the rocks to backfill into the hole between the basement wall and the dirt. And so he suspected that it needed a new fuel filter. That's one thing he's never replaced on this, but today he found that it was a gallon low on antifreeze, and so maybe it was overheating, and then he just added 5 gallons of hydraulic fluid into it. So he's just going to give it a little bit of love and then start sifting the rocks out of the dirt in order to backfill the hole. With the tractor running again, Rick's going to head over and go start sifting some dirt for fill dirt. And in the meantime, I'm going to come finish up some cleanup down here in the basement hole because as they were pouring the concrete, obviously some excess would splatter on the inside. So I'll clean that up off the floor. And then up along the walls, there's some little pieces that I'll be knocking off as well. Ground out here is super full of rocks, and as you could tell from the basement in earlier videos, it is almost solid rock. So this dirt pile is one of the dirt piles that came from the hole that we dug, and so this is not sifted rock and sifted dirt. So Rick comes over and scoops it up with the backhoe, and then he hauls it over here. This is the rock sifter he built. And so then he lifts it up and pours it onto the grate, and that filters out the bigger rocks. Small rocks and soil, and this is what we are using to backfill around the basement. And then back here, the bigger rocks drop off, and so we have a whole bunch of these rocks, and he's putting them into a separate rock pile right over there. So this is our own little dirt processing area to try and get better soil to put around the basement hole. That way it doesn't later compact and compromise the foundation of the structure. Because if you have those big chunks and then it later compacts, it wouldn't be good. So after he gets a substantial amount down here, he'll go backfill with this. But as you can tell, there's far more big rocks that are getting sifted out than usable soil. So ultimately we may have to call and end up having a truck bring some soil to help with the backfilling. There's a better look at the rock pile. That's just the pure rocks. So this is one more area that we have going on. And actually this over here, you can see the strip of rocks. That's a natural seasonal creek that runs through the property. And ultimately we will be damming that up, and we'll have a small pond a little bit up from that. My little garden space at the High Desert Homestead is nothing going on. Everything looks pretty dead right now, but the water's been turned off for the winter and the nighttime temperatures are still in the 30s. We're getting closer to the 40s now. But over here is where I grow my asparagus, and those are perennials. So every year they come back, and then the ferns, they turn to ferns like this, and the ferns die and fall over. But I was just looking over here, and check it out. There's one perfect green asparagus already ready to eat. So I'm going to break this off, and we are going to nibble on this fresh. And it broke off really nicely, perfectly crisp. One little asparagus for us to enjoy. This part never gets old. I feel really good about the progress we made this weekend. So we got, obviously, the block wall filled up. So I feel like we're pretty much done with the basement now. And so that's really exciting. And my older son is going around and he's spraying each of the bolts with oil just to make sure that they don't rust before we come back out to work on it. You can see over here that there is some more backfilling on this side. We're probably going to have to order in some backfill dirt because when we dug this out, it was solid rock, and we filtered what we can out of the material we had, but like I said, it's just a lot of rock. So we're doing what we can with that. And additionally, this has to slope up because the because it was so hard. We didn't dig it as deep as we would like to have. And so we will have to backfill up to 3 blocks down. So even on the sides over here, where we got most of it backfilled, you can see that we'll still need a little bit more to get up to 3 blocks high. And then at that point is when we can make the little frames for the footers for the cabin that will be outside of the basement, because the cabin is a bigger footprint than the basement. But this is a lot of progress. We have been working on this basement for so long, and this is just super rewarding. So we're really excited. I hope you enjoyed this video. Give me a thumbs up if you did, and subscribe for more updates.